The new Kia Stonic is today on our full review on Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars with Thomas. We're going to take a deep look on the exterior of this pretty fresh color as well, the interior and the driving experience. The name is actually supposed to be from speedy and tonic, so fast and powerful or durable, however sturdy. Is that actually true? We will find out in full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! In the front we have a very friendly look, then you have those modern matte aluminum style here in the front grille, which is actually quite small, then also horizontal taillights drawn right there. Here also with a fresh yellow color. It's not my favorite color really, but I think it fits the car very well and also, accounts for some difference on streets where, especially in Germany, silver and gray are so far dominating. So what's your first impression? 4 meters 14 or 13'6" are the compact dimensions, so that's really like, normal compact class car, maybe even a little bit smaller. That makes it handy for the city for sure. You see we have this crossover wheel arches, then there are 15-inch rims or the optional, a little bit bigger one, the 17-inch in this 2-color tone. And you get about 100 different color combinations overall, because you have the basic color and then you have the roof color, for example, contrasting in black. But there are also overall 4 different roof colors you can choose this car from, and I think it's a nice individualization. Then a pretty strong C-pillar right there, and well, this is then also even more prominent in this bright color. Other than that, you see that the windows are rather upright. That gives a good visibility from the inside. Not too spectacular, but as you can spice it up with the colors, it is also a very friendly outlook. In the rear you get the taillights from LED technology in the top trim. Other than that, it is also a rather conservative compact segment rear here with this big hatch. So it's pretty easy to open. Just right here, manual one. We'll take a look inside the trunk very soon too, in the interior part. Then this crossover lower part here with this brighter contrast. I really like that. That spices up the rear a little bit more. So what do we have here? 1.2 liter turbo petrol engine with 120 horsepower. This turbo GDI. You can get that one with a 6-speed manual or 7-speed DSG. Also available are 1.4 liter naturally aspirated engine with 100 horsepower, 1.2 liter naturally aspirated with 85, or 1.6 diesel with 110. Here, by the way, you can press on the button to close or open the vehicle when you have the keyless option. We got a middle trim today. When we have the chance, we always show you not the top trim level. Quite often manufacturers give it to us, but we always try to give you also middle trim levels because they are even more important, I think. Here you can see the window buttons. Everything is pretty hard plastic, also top of the dashboard, inside of the doors and stuff. You see a rather sporty steering wheel, I like that one. analog gauges, soon more deals to that. Seats, there are two different fabric seats available, not seat forms, but you know, the different surfaces a little bit. Those ones here with a little bit of leatherette on the outside, and then you can get also like here gray, but also orange or green contrasts basically, so a pretty colorful interior if you like. Here, as the yellow is already colorful, they didn't make the interior so colorful. I think that's a wise choice. They look quite good actually, we'll test them soon. Now let's get inside. It's actually very easy to get inside. That's also a good thing about this vehicle. It's very easy access of everything, and well, that's a huge Dodge Ram. Then this yellow car looks really tiny against it. Headroom wise, even if you're a little bit taller, it's no problem. There's still room left. I'm wearing this 86 or 6'1". I got the seat a little bit pumped up, so I can get even lower and have more headroom, but then I'm basically falling back. So it's better for your ergonomics when it's rather a little bit upright. The seating ergonomics could be a little bit better. It's quite okay as you have a rather upright seating position, but it's not that much SUV core-like. It's rather a crossover car seating wise, that's for sure. From visual on the outside, they made it pretty much SUV-like, but I think seating position is rather crossover. You don't have to, you don't have this extreme high seating position as in some SUVs. It's always a little bit different. For example, in the Volvo XC40 recently, also a small SUV, but that one had a real SUV feeling inside with a higher seating position. This one here is somewhat in between. The steering wheel can be very well adjusted also in reach and height, and has actually a good size. So, and all the other seat controls are manual here, but the good thing about this vehicle is it's pretty simple. You get along very well pretty fast. By the way, there's also a full leatherette trim available for the top trim for the seats. Other than that, on the top of the dashboard, as I said, hard plastic materials. This 7-inch screen is standard actually, that's quite nice, and you can get the Apple CarPlay connection or Android Auto. That's very well done, easy solution, and then you got everything. The rest of the software is not that good. You see this scrolling in and out, it's not really possible there. I don't like it that much then. Here I just have the hotkey then for the CarPlay stuff, and then you can of course just do the usual stuff like media directly, for example, from the CarPlay. It's pretty nice. Or also the radio hotkey, and you can still access the volume right here, but you can also change it at the steering wheel. The climate unit is still separate. That really is helpful while driving, so easy control of that. Also for the vent strength, just you can put it off, and then it's pretty nice, I think, from design, a little bit airplane cockpit style. This is then for the maximum front heat when it's cold in winter times. The heating does take quite a while though. Color wise, you can see this is again this gray contrast, then analog instruments as we can see here with a small digital screen in the middle, and right side again those gray decor elements, but those you can also get more colorful if you like. Then in this lower part, place to put your smartphone, 12-volt power supply, then USB slot. You can also put your smartphone below that. That's what I did here. And then below that, this is interesting for winter times, seat heating available and even heated steering wheel. And unlike the normal heating, the seat heating is very powerful if you put it to the 3rd level. And the inside of the doors also work with bigger bottles. And finally, 2 cup holders, but they are not adaptive. They are pretty shallow as well. Normal handbrake. And this middle armrest with a lot of room inside here, but then again the whole thing is pretty shaky. So it's a short car. What about the rear legroom? Well, it is of course somewhat limited as for the length. I can somehow still fit in here because the seat itself is pretty soft, but the front driver wouldn't be too happy about that. So from the length, not for 4 tall adults at least, or just for short routes. Headroom wise, however, is quite okay from the exterior form, as you can still put my hand over my head there, so that's actually fine. Then we have ISOFIX on the outside seats for child seats, and we can also flip the seats from here, but the mechanism is a little bit, yeah, there we go. So like this, I will show you that very soon when we get to the trunk. How does that look like? And it's good that they thought about a USB charger even for rear passengers. And that's nicely done. Also room for big bottles here in the rear door seats. So let's take a look at the trunk. There's actually this floor that you can also pull out completely if you want a little bit more height. Other than that, you leave it inside, because then you can, when you flip the seats, have a rather even surface here. And that's the 2/3, 1/3 split. You can also remove the other side. Overall, very well usable. If you want more space, again, remove this top cover if you don't want to load things through. Welcome. Let's push this 3-cylinder engine. Turbo petrol, 120 horsepower. I went 80 kilometers. I didn't push it all the way through. So it's 10.3 seconds to 100 kilometers an hour. That's quite okay. You feel it especially when driving in first gear, just from standstill. You need to give it a little bit more clutch. Otherwise, doesn't really turn up the RPM that much. And then I wonder, Kia is suspecting this engine here to be the most important in Europe, but the other ones without the turbo and with less horsepower, I wonder if they are a little bit underpowered for this vehicle, although it's not the heaviest one. The advantage of the turbo is definitely that's when you're, for example, when you're being on the motorway here, you can still accelerate also in the higher gears. For example, when you're in the 4th gear and then pushing it, it's not a sports car, of course, but there's still something happening. With the naturally aspirated engines, hardly anything would be happening there. So when you're using it on the motorway, you should probably go for this turbo petrol engine here. If you're just primarily using it for city driving, then maybe also saving some money and going for the smaller naturally aspirated engines can be useful, actually, because usually I'm not the biggest friends of turbos. I still like a little bigger naturally aspirated engines, but in this case it does make sense power-wise. So about 80 kilometers an hour, it's still okay sound insulation-wise. Above that, so you maybe heard that, we were just riding about 100. Then the car also gets somewhat noisy. This is of course also due to the build form, and you do somehow feel from the whole driving characteristic that it's, not a super expensive car, so to say. That's not really bad, because it is indeed not a super expensive car, and the price-performance ratio is way better than in most other vehicles, but you just feel it that it's more or primarily a everyday driving vehicle, really simple and easy for the city. That's really one of the most significant aspects of this car. You just sit down and start driving. Everything is really easy and self-explanatory. Shifting, by the way, it works pretty smooth with a 6-speed gearbox. You can also get an automatic gearbox for this one here. I wonder how it is then with the first gear drive. Maybe that is also improving the drive then. Very interesting. You have a great overview. You see the A-pillar is pretty slim. All the things are upright, so you feel pretty much in control with this car. Also have this little higher seating position than you would have with a normal passenger vehicle, and no matter where things are coming from, you can very well see it with this vehicle. So I really like that. And let's now get into some traffic, because that's also part of a lot of car drivers' life. Thank you. So also a big advantage to have a small car when you're stuck in traffic, for example. Pretty easy to handle. Also the steering is super light, but the funny thing is it's not super unnatural, so it still offers you a fun direct feeling somewhat, but you don't need to apply much strength to park in and out this vehicle. So that comes really handy in the city or when searching for a parking spot. So indeed, this is a very good city vehicle, and actually you don't have to have a lot of experience with cars. And actually, I think it's also a good first driver's vehicle, you know. Suspension-wise, they have somehow find, you know, a compromise middle setup. When you're going through some bumps, you do feel them. So this is also one area I would like to have improved. It can be a little bit rough at some times. So, but other than that, it's fun to drive, quite firm for an SUV indeed, or for this crossover. Well, and you remember the name, you know, for Stonic, speedy and tonic. Well, yeah, that's marketing bullshit. But oh, I shouldn't use those words on YouTube. Maybe that's the automatic. Those automatic systems then rating down the videos or blocking them. I just say BS, marketing BS. But somehow they want to have this sporty setup with this vehicle that you can also have fun in city. And with the firm suspension and the good steering here, you can indeed have some fun. That's what I meant again. In the first gear, you really have to give it some more clutch and also quite strong on the throttle that something is happening, although we have this turbo. Then the second gear is actually quite fine. So what about consumption? I've test driven this car now for a longer period of time to have a good average consumption. We are only telling the real-time figures. We don't even bother anymore with the official figures. That will improve a little bit with the new WLTP driving cycle. That will be closer to real-world consumption for sure. But here for the real-term work, it's 7 liters on 100 kilometers, and that is of course too much. It could be worse, and it was worse with other vehicles, but again, considering the size of the car, it's too much. The Citroën C3 Aircross we had at about 6 liters, if I remember correctly. Of course, this SUV building form is not too good for the consumption. This one here, front-wheel drive only. You also just stay like that. And here now, when driving the vehicle, I also now realize what's the difference between the Kia Stonic and the Hyundai Kona, or Kauai, as it's sold in Portugal, because Kona wouldn't sound so good in Portuguese. Yeah, you can look that up if you're not Portuguese. So they indeed use different platforms, although you would think, you know, aren't they siblings, same corporation, Hyundai and Kia? No. And well, reason is that the Hyundai Kona gets this electric drive now, the all-electric version. We'll also have soon a Hyundai Kona review, a full driving review, by the way. And you definitely feel that the Kona seems to be, you know, also driving-wise a little bit more premium-ish, and this one here shall rather be this fun, groovy entry model, which is really great at the price, but also drives simpler, you know. I'm no one that is, you know, judging cars by the price. You know, there are so many car journalists saying like, yeah, cheap cars are bad and expensive cars are good. But I'm actually more interested even in cars with a good price-performance ratio, because I think that's the best service to you. Yeah. The steering, by the way, is pretty nice and compact, so that also stresses again this, you know, rather sporty setup. When standing still, you know, it's actually quite calm, so the wind noise are really only coming when you drive like 100 kilometers plus. The engine again has this rather typical sound for the very small turbo engines, but you'll be just fine with that. I really enjoy it. I mean, this good overview here in the city, that's really nice. Seating position wise, as I said earlier, it's quite okay, and you're a little bit more upright than in a normal passenger vehicle, but not like 100% in the ergonomics. And well, some might say now, hey, Thomas is so often criticizing seating comfort and so on, but the reason is I tend to get lower back pain in cars pretty easily, but that's actually a good thing for you, because in that way I can really differentiate bad seats, good seat, and really good seats, because when they're perfect for me and not hurting at all, then I know it won't be the case for people who are not that sensitive in the seating comfort. And you know, if you're not sensitive in seating comfort, then it might also be just fine. A lot of cars which I criticize a little bit, but it's really interesting how big the differences are in the seating comfort from car to car, maybe even inside the segment. And to me, it's actually the single most important thing in the car, because what you're doing here, you are sitting. What about that? By the way, sixth gear is possible. If you go into that, acceleration is basically coming to a halt, but that's just for rolling if you're at a higher speed then and want to save some more fuel. Other than that, it's also quite fun to shift down, it's no problem. So overall, the car gives you a very controlled feeling, a simple feeling, easy feeling with this good overview. So if you're searching for a modern crossover SUV style car, which doesn't exaggerate anything, I think that's a quite good choice here then. So now we're getting a little bit faster again to the motorway. Let's see how the performance is there then. Also, again, you can listen a little bit to the noise insulation, for example. I'm also just shifting through the gears to see if there's any resistance, but I think they managed to build this gearbox pretty well. It's something they can really do. So Porsche Cayenne behind us. Just wait for the bullying to start. That's quite often when you are in smaller cars, then you're basically lost on German roads. That's really too bad. In general, it would be better if more people bought smaller cars, but in Germany, really bully factor is quite high. This is not a motorway yet, by the way, so I'm not obliged to go to the right. As soon as we're on the motorway and I drive slower, then I'm obliged to go to the right side. So pretty easy acceleration here. Again, with the turbo, you don't have to apply the throttle too much. I'm going right and let this Cayenne pass. We will go above the speed limit, as it's usual in Germany. We're at 100 now, this is like 120. Lane change is a lot of fun. See, the suspension is so firm that the car doesn't tilt that much. So that's really a lot of fun in this vehicle. This is, by the way, the blind spot monitor, and if I'm not reacting on that, there's even the acoustic warning when I'm using the turning indicators. That's a pretty interesting thing and good for safety. Now I really have to raise my voice at 100 kilometers an hour, so they should work on the sound insulation here too. I think that would be a really clever idea. So let's see that the next car is maybe overtaking us, then I can show you again the blind spot monitor. There's also a normal cruise control available, being activated here at the steering wheel. I just set it then with plus and minus. It's working pretty flawlessly, but not keeping the distance. There it is. And then I'm now setting the turning indicators. Then I also get the acoustic warning. I think that's a well done system. So and one of the most important safety features you can get. Always go for that in any car if you can do so. The climate control can also be reached while driving pretty easily. Here they still have this, this rather classic control, And do I have to go the other here? Oh, sorry. I will. I like that I still have a separate knob. I think that's pretty helpful to have this separate knob. Now we will overtake this driving school. At least go to the left lane. So if I would have to do something in the touchscreen now while driving, I don't think that's the best idea. I really don't like that. So while driving, I think it's best to have this separate control. Also, by the way, I'm driving all the time with a heated steering wheel because it's pretty cold outside, just 1 degree Celsius. So it's really helpful in winter times. You don't have to wear any gloves and your fingers are being kept warm. And then you also have a better control over the car. Back to second gear, pushing it a little bit. Then it, turbo sets really in. It's also fun in the acceleration. So I think overall a pretty balanced car for modern needs of wanting a smaller crossover or SUV. But I somehow still wonder, looking at the Kia lineup with the Kia Niro, Yeah, okay, that's available as plug-in hybrid as well and as inbuilt hybrid. The Kia Soul, that is also available with petrol, but then they go also with electric drive. And then this one, the Kia Stonic. Those three models, I mean, they have some differentiation, but at the same time, somehow from the looks, concept, and also driving-wise, they all come so close. So I really wonder why they're doing that, doing three models which are so extremely close to each other. But you can watch all those reviews here on Autogefühl. So if you're also interested in the Kia Soul EV or in the Kia Niro, check out those reviews and then you can compare them with those here. If any one of you watched all three of these reviews, maybe tell me your impression, maybe also from watching the reviews directly after each other. What do you see as the main differences between those three cars? Maybe we can share some experience there together in the comments. But so far now the driving impressions here from this day's Kia. Which one was it? Oh, the Stonic it was. Yeah, I was just kidding. Countryside routing now, a little bit more relaxed. You can also set the cruise control and then I'm totally fine again. So I think nothing too special in driving for sure, but I think overall pretty solid. And now to our conclusion for today, the Kia Stonic. From the exterior, a really modern SUV. Also the dimensions I think are pretty handy, especially for the city. Also in the interior, I mean, we have enough room, so it's actually a quite clever concept. And the price-performance ratio, this is actually the key element of this vehicle that makes it pretty handy for a lot of different customers. Driving-wise, actually pretty standard ride. The suspension is rather firm, so you have a sporty ride, good steering. It could be a little bit more comfortable, you know, seating ergonomics and also the suspension. A little bit more comfort would be nice for my touch, I think. So it's nothing super new spectacular, but it's, let's say, a bright car, also so many color variations you can get, and overall, you know, a quite good concept to modern needs, not to the future, but at the moment. Thank you so much for tuning in. Also tune in next time.